What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm your host, Mangone. We're here on a nice little Tuesday slate. We've had some short ones, right? Nice little 3-gamers. But today, what do you got? You got a nice little 5-game slate. You got it nice and broken up, 2 games early, 3 games late. You get some time to go grab some food. Should be a fun time. We'll have night slate as well. So a lot of basketball going on tonight. Let's bring in our boys. We got DC. We got Hoop. Let's go to DC over there. How is the Tuesday, and how are you feeling about this slate?
Things are good, man. Yeah, happy to have a little bigger slate on Tuesday. Usually, like you said, we have shorter ones. It's a good one, too. I mean, a bunch of news that we're still waiting on that will kind of dictate where you want to go on this slate. Portland has 3, very important players out for them, Lillard, Little, and Powell. So, they've got all kinds of moving parts figuring out the Portland situation is important. And then the Knicks situation too. It looks like they're doing maybe a little changing of the guard, right? Where Kemba is out of the, not off the team, but just like they're trying to trade him. So they're going to see Alec Burks start at the 1, which I think is just interesting for that team. And yeah, a lot of moving parts on Monday and a pretty good 5-game slate.
Yep, a lot of moving parts. Definitely interesting. A lot of new situations like the Kemba Walker one you talked about. Hoop, we'll go over to you. I mean, are you surprised that Kemba Walker's out of the rotation for the Knicks because he can't last in the league too much longer? And then how is the day? How's everything going? Is the carpet situation under control? I've heard some rumors that it's going a little tough today. So I'm sure the people want to hear all about the carpet situation.
Yeah, so the final installment of the carpet is happening right now. It's almost done. They're in the upper region of the house, so I am stuck in the basement. That's why the setup's a little rough today, but I should be back in the office tomorrow. I'm going to be happy when this carpet situation is put to rest. In terms of this slate, 5-game slate. It's a solid one. We have injury news. We have a bunch of plays. Unique or an interesting situation in New York where they're just basically saying we're not playing our point guard anymore. I mean, it was a pretty big free agent signing, right? Like they signed him to something decent. So it's kind of weird, but he might be on the closer side of dusty here at this point. So not all that surprising. Damian Lillard out is obviously huge for the slate. And then, John Morant out as well. So some big names off the slate. It's just a big difference with, 3 games versus 5 games. Like there's decisions to be made, a lot more guys in play. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this slate for sure. Should be a fun night. And then you get like the Warriors Suns. Like there's not many like NBA games where you're like, oh, I actually am interested in watching it from start to finish, regardless of how many guys you have for DFS purposes. But this game, I'm actually kind of excited to tune in and see him play. I won't make it all the way to the end. It's a 10 p.m. Eastern game. I don't have the luxury of being mountain time like you guys, so I'll see the first half and probably hit the sheets.
Well, Hoop, I will say you are a huge, huge Pistons fan. You're telling me instead of watching Pistons and Blazers at 10:30, you are going to, or 10 o'clock, you're going to tune into the Warriors and Suns, that marquee matchup instead of the Pistons. That's really what you're doing here as a Pistons fan. That's just bad for your fandom.
It is a tough decision. Like Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, CJ McCollum, Tony Snell, Covington, or Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Booker. I'm going with the second. I'm going to have to cheat on my Pistons here tonight a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely okay to not watch the Pistons. It'll be fine. It'll be okay. But we got a nice little slate today. And the people want the shades on me. I feel like it's like every show, the people want the shades. So I have to bring the shades here shortly once we get into the games. DC, any final thoughts here before we dive in? Anything else to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Seattle Seahawks last night and that incredible Monday Night Football game? You got any hot takes on that? And actually, the people really want to know, and I want to know, you posted a picture on Thanksgiving. You talked about the table talk and everything. Yeah. And then there were cops outside of someone's house nearby. I don't know if it's the house you were at, but you got any good stories for us there?
Yeah, just, a quiet neighborhood, suburban neighborhood. And all of a sudden, Thanksgiving, there's like 3 or 4 cop cars right across the street. Neighbors, we were at my girlfriend's parents' house. And a big domestic dispute apparently. They must have brought up the forbidden list of topics. And, we had some fisticuffs next door. The cops had to come break it up. No shots fired or anything. I was safe. I was very safe. But had to get a little picture. I had a few at that point too. So it was feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that was good on Twitter.
Yeah.
That was fun. And I'm disappointed in Hoop. No pictures of you and Title at the Dallas Cowboys game. I was very disappointed by that.
I was going to tell you guys the story. I mean, almost a near altercation at the end of the game. So, yeah, Title came up. We went to the Cowboys game. I was in Dallas with my brother-in-law and started tailgating. We started tailgating about, 3 hours before the game. Game started at 3:30, got there at 12:30. And Title still got that college kid mentality. I mean, he's young, he's mid-20s, and he wanted to go hard out of the gates. Like he was looking to go super hard. We had some Fireball. My mother-in-law loves Fireball, so she had the little shooters of Fireball. Title was setting a pace that was unattainable for definitely me, and it turned out to be him as well. I mean, he was within the first 30 minutes looking to do like Fireball shot number 3. I'm like, Title, man, I said, this is, we're not like hanging out for 2 hours and, calling it quits. I said, this is an all day thing. I mean, we got this game. It's probably going until about 8 o'clock. There's going to be dinner and stuff after the game. And he didn't like to hear that, but let's just put it this way. By halftime, Title was, he was done consuming alcohol at the halftime of the game, and your boy was still going.
Man, yeah. I mean, listen, he'll learn. He's a young buck. That's not my department where I crush, but DC. I mean, you've had years of experience, right? You remember the old days where you went a little too hard, too quick.
Yeah. I've been in that situation more times than I can count. So
same here. But DC, we're on the other side of that. Mid-30s now. Like we understand that. And as like 5 years ago, I didn't understand that.
I'll still occasionally.
And I say it. Yeah, I will occasionally as well forget, but I was, the family, kids were there and stuff. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be a little more responsible than normal. And Title's young, it's all right. But then after the game, like Raiders fans for the most part, like they travel, and a lot of scumbag fans, like and if you're a Raiders fan, I'm sorry, but a lot of losers out there. Like there was these at the end of the quick little story at the end of the game. Right before that kick, the Raiders kick, we're like, let's get out of here. I said, let's start to walk out, because there's like the stadium is just jam packed, obviously. So there was a group of Raiders fans that were, I don't even know, they're trying to like reenact the kick at the end of the game, like in the concourse area where everyone's trying to leave, and they didn't want people to get in the way of their reenacted kick, and we're trying to get out of there. So a couple of the guys came up and kind of like I wouldn't call it like a shove, but like kind of nudged me and Title like like out of the way. And I was with my brother-in-law who he likes to go at it in those scenarios. So like I'm just like, dude, I said, I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, you're literally a huge fucking loser. I have my family right here, and you're like, whatever you're doing over here, like I said, this is pathetic. Well, my brother-in-law circles around, and he's got one of these guys by his neck up against the wall. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be just a disastrous situation. Yanked him, got the hell out of there, but it was fun.
So you will not see Hoop dressed up in like Raiders gear with like the spikes and like the face painted. No, that won't happen ever.
Yeah, were these guys dressed up?
Yeah, they had the full Raiders gear, but like they didn't have like the face paint. No, nothing like that. But man, like football fans in general, like they're kind of just like lose. I don't know, like the hardcore like crazy ones. Like it's just like it's kind of sad,
Did you see, speaking of hardcore fans, you see about my buddy Joe, who works for us and does some stuff. He said, if Max Scherzer goes to the Mets, I'll drink however many beers that are likes on this tweet. And he's got some likes on there. I mean, he's not
that thing started getting some steam, like a lot. It was like almost like a viral tweet. I mean, because he doesn't have like a ton of followers, and that thing got up to like, when I hit it was like at 180.
Yeah, so he's gonna drink the beers. I think he said he's gonna do a video and like just like each one, like put them all in a cut. We'll see. Hopefully he sticks with it. I'm sure he will. He's one that I think will stick with it. But let's dive in. Let's talk some basketball. Before we kind of talk some basketball, right? We got to talk about the members that never win, right? Because we know it's a running joke here because the members do crush. And Hoop, you and I did this show earlier. I believe it was like 1.2. Was it 1.2 million in like wins this weekend? What was the number, Hoop? I
the remember. Guy that Helmet who handles our newsletter, he always pulls the screenshots from the Discord and Twitter and everything. And there was I think he said it was between 1.1 and 1.2 million dollars in wins in the last less than a week, like 5 days or so. So it was definitely a good week for members, and a lot of coordinators had big wins as well, including yourself.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice little weekend. We got GEMC 13, 6K in NFL. Slick Derula won 6.5K. Shar 19, 15K hit. I had a nice little NBA hit. Rubio for a nice little 15K. Tambo hitting the 2 King of the Beach tickets, so he'll be going to that live final. That'll be awesome. And JSU for 167K. And DC, actually, because you're here, I want to ask you this question. I believe you've won a live final before. That was the college football one. You won that one.
Yep.
Now, I have a question for you. I'm in the online final. Also, Bruce is in the final. K Phallic, I think, is in it. And I know Big T is. So any advice? Maybe we have some members that are in it as well. Any advice as a college football world champion for, this weekend coming up where we got a nice little contest, 75 people, 100K to first. So any advice here?
Don't overthink it. I think sometimes you get in the live final and you spin yourself in circles trying to make that lineup. Pick a game that you like. I think college football is all about the game stack to me, right? You get the game that just going back and forth, putting up points, and that's the way to the top for me for college football.
Yeah, well, as a wise man once said, just at the end of the day, you just find a way to get the most fantasy points and you'll win, right, Hoop? I mean, it's just that simple. So we'll do our best here at Run Pure. Well, Bruce on the content. I'm sure I'll do in cores. We got K Phallic, Big T with his player pool. So check out all that. Again, one's all sports, one price. It's I don't know. Do we have RPS Heater 25 right now, Hoop, or is there something coming next week?
Yeah, still going. Yep, still going.
RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off your first payment. So be sure to check that out. Get in on that. But we'll dive in. We'll talk the NBA. I'm sure there's someone in the chat saying, "Oh, get to the NBA." We're getting there. It's only 5 games, and there's tons of news to break and tons of things that'll change. And of course, JSU, Big T will be helping you out with on the Up the Lock show with Holden. So first game up, this game starts at 7:30 Eastern, so not the typical start time. You got the Memphis Grizzlies, you have the Toronto Raptors, 216 total. And we have a new situation here because Ja Morant, he is out. And we've only seen we've kind of seen a 2-game sample size of it. The one game, it's kind of tough because it blew out. And on top of that, he played the start of the game. But we have some sample. The last game before, we had a small sample of maybe 20 to 25 minutes where we saw them play real rotations, and then you kind of saw it blow out. So it's not the easiest to navigate, and there are price bumps. You got Tyus Jones on DraftKings at 5.2K now. Desmond Bane is 6K. Dylan Brooks, 7K. Jaren Jackson, 6.7. And Steven Adams still at 4.3. And Melton off the bench at 5.1, I think, is a good option. There's other guys to consider. Kyle Anderson, Brandon Clark. I mean, you just can't ignore some of these options here. And I think my 2 favorites are Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson because they didn't get the huge price bump. And I do think that they are the best producers if the game stays close. So DC, I'll go to you. Obviously, rostering Jaren Jackson is a not fun experience. The foul trouble can be an issue, and they're going against a Raptors team that struggle in the front court. So Adams could crush. I think Dylan Brooks is going to chuck up a ton of shots. So it's a great spot all around for these Memphis Grizzlies. What do you do here with Memphis and the Raptors who play a pile of minutes as well, DC?
Yeah, the Memphis side, I think, my advice would be to tread cautiously here with these Memphis guys. Oftentimes we see a star of the caliber of Ja Morant go down, and it's very kind of clear who's going to benefit, get more minutes. Sometimes you have the direct backup comes in, you can kind of play that role close to the level that the starter was. Not the case here, right? Tyus Jones is not Ja Morant. He's a decent backup, but they're just completely different players. So you'll see it spread around a little bit. Of course, Tyus Jones is going to be more involved, but so is Melton some. You'll see Bane and Brooks get a few more shots. Maybe some more usage runs through Jaren Jackson. But, I mean, DK did a pretty good job of bumping up the prices here where I don't see any Grizzlies that I'm super excited to play, right? I think you kind of nailed the ones, Jackson and maybe Brooks, who are probably going to take on more usage, but I kind of see this as a scenario where the minutes and the usage are all going to spread around. I mean, what'd you name 9 or 10 Grizzlies that you think you could play? Well, if, no team ever has that many guys in play. And if you can't figure out which ones between those 9 or 10 guys that could be in play are the plays, it gets a little tricky. So I'm cautious with Memphis tonight, no question.
Yeah, I'm not as cautious with the 2 guys I mentioned with Brooks and Jackson. I guess I'm a little cautious with Jackson because of the foul trouble, but yeah. I do think when Ja Morant is out, some stuff I've noticed is this Memphis Grizzlies team, the big men do get a little bit more usage funneled their way. And play, like they produce more fantasy points, but I have to guess which one it is. Now in MME, I think getting exposure to all of them is not a bad approach. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I think that they're all have massive ceilings here that they could get there. You wouldn't be shocked if Brandon Clark closed the game out and had 30 or 35 fantasy points. It just would not be surprising at all.
Yeah. So I think you want to spread it around, right? Like if you're playing MME, I think this is a good team where you want, 15, 20% of a bunch of these guys, something like that. I think kind of sort of matching the field, maybe. I mean, I just, maybe Hoop has a stronger take, but I don't see one kind of standout play, at least on DraftKings.
Yeah, let's go to Hoop and Hoop. Talk about the Memphis situation, and then we can go on the Raptors a little bit. And it's worth mentioning because there is a lot of good value on this slate. We have the potential Knicks value that can come. We already have Damian Lillard sitting. So it's like, it's not like it's this 5-game slate where there's no value but the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's who we're plugging in, and we just got to play the guessing game. There are other value options you can go to. So what do you think about these Memphis value plays, and how do you kind of rank all these guys in your handle this situation?
Yeah, so I think like without the Damian Lillard news, this is a spot we're probably forced to come to, if we don't get Lillard out. But now with Lillard out, we don't have to play these guys as much. I mean, the problem is it's like they all got price bumps, and they're like priced probably like where they should be with Morant out. So yeah, I think a couple of these guys are going to have big games. There's no doubt about it. That's why I like the strategy of just mixing them in. If you're MMEing, Steven Adams is still cheap at 4.3K. I think like he's a fine option. I mean, the last game was a blowout. He still got like 31 fantasy points, but he's like a low floor, kind of high ceiling type player. He can have some explosion games. I think Jaren Jackson's fine. Bane is fine. Dylan Brooks, like they're all fine to me. But there's no way they all get there. Their price tags, like I said, have come up quite a bit. Melton's another guy you can throw in there. Slow-mo. I just don't play slow-mo. I don't like if slow-mo is going to beat me, he beats me. I'm done with his ass. I can't stand playing him. It's like so frustrating. Like he's just anytime
I never get slow-mo right. I never get him right. I'm not playing.
It's like and you play him because all you want him to do. Not like you're asking for him to like go off. You just want him to like hit value or something. Like,
you just want like 25 fantasy points. He somehow gives you like 9.
And it just never works out. Like never. So I'm just cool being off of that. On the Toronto side, their prices are up there as well. I think Precious is the best play, 4.4K, played 36 minutes last game. It's for him, it's more of like a grinded out type value, grinded out type play. Can he get 8 rebounds, 10 points, and a couple blocks, and you're good? But yeah, I don't know. It's not the most exciting spot. The Grizzlies guys, if I was MMEing, you're playing 150, definitely mix them in there. A couple of them will have big games, but it's not a spot like you absolutely have to load up on like it was prior to Lillard news.
Who do you like, Precious or Adams better? They're both only center eligible in DraftKings and essentially the same price.
Yeah, probably. I'll probably lean Precious, but it's close, man. I mean, it's real close.
I'll take those minutes. I think the minutes for Precious are much more secure. Yeah. So I wouldn't that way.
My only issue with Precious, like I think he's fine. I worry about his ceiling a bit. Yeah. Even though the price is good, it's like, I don't know, like Hoop, like do the game log look, right? I know the situation's a little different, but it does feel like he fails to hit that like upside a ton, but he is really cheap. I mean, that's one thing I've kind of gone back and forth on. It just doesn't feel like he's as great as a producer as the projections say. I don't know. I've gone back and forth. I think he's good in cash games, and I don't hate him in tournaments. It's only a 5-game slate. We can't be too picky. It's not like yesterday with the center slate being loaded, but that's one thing I'm struggling with a bit.
So I was a little worried this game could potentially go small because Toronto does have Siakam back, right? And they've played him at the 5 in the past. And then, if Memphis goes to Jaren Jackson, like those two could go play the 5 against each other. But Toronto is so thin, right? No OG Anunoby, maybe no Gary Trent. He's so questionable. No Khem Birch. So especially if Gary Trent is out, I think it becomes hard then for Siakam to go play the 5 just because they don't have enough dudes to play the 2 through the 4. And in that case, I think Precious minutes, 30-plus minutes, seems pretty likely here. So I get it with the ceiling, and he's not the most exciting play, but starting center for 4,400 who you think is going to play 30-plus minutes, hard for me to pass up.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I mean, I'm sure he'll be on the cash yard. I'm sure I'm strongly considering him in cash, but I'm definitely thinking about him at least in tournaments a little bit. Hoop, what's your thoughts? Again, I'm not trying to say he's a bad play, but I do think it's like a conversation to have on this slate because Jakob Poeltl yesterday, great example. Jakob Poeltl, he could have gotten more run, got 36 fantasy points. He was fine, but a bunch of other centers beat him, and you only can roster 2 centers. And if you can find 2 other guys that are just better and are good raw point plays, then you don't need a guy like Precious necessarily for the winning lineup. Sure, 50-50s, cash games, it's great, but I don't know. Hoop, what do you think of Precious here?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a fine value play. I mean, it kind of depends on the slate. Like, yeah, yesterday, like we talked about it on the show, like center was absolutely loaded, and like all those guys got there. So even a guy like Poeltl, who kind of went off a little bit for his price tag, it wasn't enough at the position. So yeah, tonight's a little bit different though. I mean, it's a 5-game slate. You can get by with guys just kind of like hitting value. So yeah, I think he's a fine option. I mean, 4-3. He's probably likely to get like 22 or 23 fantasy points.
Yep. And two centers that I can mention right now that could easily beat him, and it wouldn't even be crazy, is Steven Adams can have a massive ceiling game. If you told me Steven Adams is playing 30 minutes, I'm signing up. Even over Precious, I'm in. And then Yusuf Nurkic, the ceiling he can have is massive. So there's a lot to go on in this game. We didn't talk a lot about Fred VanVleet, and the price is up on VanVleet, but I think it's a really strong spot for him. I mean, the dude plays 38 to 40 minutes almost every night. He gets a matchup against the Grizzlies where they are a bottom 5 team against point guards. And I don't know, everyone's going to gravitate towards CJ McCollum, Anthony Simons. And I don't know, I see his ownership feels like it's supposed to be high today, but I don't know. Why are people really going to play Fred VanVleet? I think his ownership could get a little bit lower, and I think he's a really good raw points play to go up to that can easily get 50 fantasy points. And yeah, at 8-7, you kind of want to get 45 or 50, but I think he's a really strong play. What do you think about Fred VanVleet here, DC?
Yeah, I like him. I mean, he's just so safe, right? The minutes are just as secure as they possibly come. This team needs him. I mean, one of the better bets on this slate, regardless of price, I would say for 40 plus fantasy points. I think he's like almost as likely to get there as a Kevin Durant. Durant just has kind of these down games. VanVleet can't have one in this offense. They just need him. So I like it. I like the matchup for him here for sure at home, and you're going to probably get 40 minutes out of him. So no problem. Just like you said, if a couple of the big superstars have, the 60 to 70 point games, you're probably not going to get that from VanVleet. So maybe you could fall behind there. But like you said, I mean, I think just a very, very safe play. And I prefer him to like a Devin Booker, I think, at that same price point. Just feel better about VanVleet's floor.
Yeah, Hoop, what do you think? Him or even Siakam, right? Siakam could easily be a really good option, especially if they go that small ball 5 lineup. Well, we know Siakam in those small ball 5 lineups, He has that ceiling of 50 to 60 fantasy points for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if deciding between those two, I would go with VanVleet. I think he's the better option, and these guys become more in play if Gary Trent is ruled out. I mean, they're fine options, they're fine guys to like finish your lineup with, but if Trent's out as well, then you're looking at a pretty thin rotation for Toronto, and these guys would become more in the conversation.
Yeah, and the mention about Trent, if he's out, Svi Mikhailuk will get a really nice bump. And again, starters for the Raptors, that is the tell. If you start, you get 30 plus minutes for sure, sometimes 35, sometimes even 40. So we know Nick Nurse is going to run those guys into the ground. Not too much else to say. All I got to say is, guys, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Helps us out a ton. We got 460 watching, 128 likes. We want to help you guys out. Helps to keep these shows free. So please hit that like, but let's move on to the next game. We got the Knicks, we got the Nets, the Battle of New York. Should be a fun game to watch. DC, let's start with you because you love playing some Julius Randle. Kemba Walker is now benched for Alec Burks as the starting point guard. A lot to like on this side, especially with all the questionable tags, because if a bunch more are rolled out, DC, well, the Knicks are going to be a really strong option against a Nets team that do not play defense. So DC, break it down for me. What are you doing here with the Knicks and the Nets?
Yeah, so Alec Burks, big game last time out, starting for Kemba Walker. It looks like, Thibodeau basically said Kemba Walker's not going to play anymore. Burks is going to be the starting point guard. And that's when Thibodeau says something like that, when he benches Kemba and then says, Burks, you're the starter now. Tibbs is going to have some loyalty there, I think, right? Like we've seen Tibbs when he says, oh, this is my guy, you're going to get some run. Burks might play 35 to 40 minutes every night, especially if Derrick Rose is out. Now we do have, like you said, questionable tags galore here. So Derrick Rose, I think maybe the most important one of them for me, but also RJ Barrett. I mean, he's a guy that plays big minutes in that rotation every night. And then 3 big men, Taj Gibson, Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel, all questionable. I can't really remember a team that just had 5 straight up questionable dudes that I don't know. I don't really have a great feel on any of them. Which way is this going to go? I assume 1 or 2 of them are probably going to play. I don't know who it's going to be. And yeah, it matters a lot. Specifically, I'm looking at the Knicks. I think the Knicks backcourt, if the news breaks right, where you have Rose and then potentially Barrett out, then Burks price bump, but I think he's going to get run and score. And then Emmanuel quickly, it does. I kind of get the feeling that Tibbs is actually going to just kind of a change up here, right? He wants to kind of change up the rotation. And I think quickly is going to start playing maybe 30 plus minutes a night off the bench. He's a talented player too. So Burks and quickly kind of where I'm starting, but obviously all dependent on how the news breaks.
Yep, definitely dependent on how the news breaks for sure. And one thing that'll depend on how the news breaks is like, man, if you get those guys out, a bunch of those guards, Evan Fournier, I think kind of could get overlooked because let's say people plug in Anthony Simons, then they plug in CJ McCollum because there's no Damian Lillard. Now they plug in a couple of Knicks. Well, you're running out of spots and you can play him at guard and forward, Evan Fournier. And you talk about Thibodeau and he said, I like the combo guard of Burks and Fournier together. So I think Fournier is a bit overlooked in tournaments. And we're going to look back a week or 2 from now and say, man, Evan Fournier is like a guy that they trust and they're giving minutes and they want him to run the offense a little bit more. So I think he's in play. Hoop, we definitely need news on this. It matters a ton. Julius Randle could obviously get a nice bump. It's the Nets. You can definitely attack them. What are you doing with these Knicks? Because this injury news is very, very massive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bunch of okay plays that if the news breaks could turn into really good plays. I mean, really, all these guys, they have pretty fair price tags for their current roles, like Randall at 9.4. I mean, that's where he should be. Barrett, Burks, Fournier, all kind of where they should be in terms of their price. But if we get a bunch of these guys out, then, this is going to be a spot where we could potentially load up. If Derrick Rose is out, that's a huge bump for like quickly and Burks. Then Barrett's questionable if he's out, like bump for Fournier. You really need to wait on the news. They could be without a bunch of big guys, which would obviously be a boost to Randall. They have how many guys listed at 1, 2, 3, 5 rotation guys listed as questionable. So it's 7:30 Eastern game. So we're going to get the news. And you gotta be ready to make the pivots. Our Up to Lock team will be covering it and kind of give you the full breakdown and their opinions on the situation. But got five rotation guys listed as questionable. So it's hard right now to say who's the best play. All decent plays now, okay plays. But if the news breaks, we could get some elite plays out of this Knicks team.
Yeah, definitely get some elite plays. What about the opposite side, Hoop? Like those Nets. Harden, KD, they're great raw point spend options. Are they the correct ones on this slate? Are they ones that you're targeting? Because we have a lot of good guys in the 8 and 9K range that are good values based on injury news. And there's a nice little game tonight between the Warriors and Suns, which is going to be a fun game. Curry's a great raw points guy. Got some interesting Suns options. I don't think that these are guys that many are going to gravitate towards, but they are in play because we know the ceilings that KD and Harden can have.
Yeah, this is the hardest part about the slate, these top studs and trying to figure out like what to do with them. Do you need to play them? Do you not need to play them? We know we're going to want CJ McCollum. He's said like 8K-ish or so. I don't know. To me, it's the hardest part of the slate, trying to decipher, do you need to play any of these studs? I guess to me, the one that I'd feel best with is Durant, just because of the position. I think we're going to have a lot of good guard plays tonight. We're going to have a lot of good center options tonight. So maybe Durant's the guy by default. Do I think I need Durant or Harden tonight? No, but it really depends on how some of this injury news shakes. Like, do we have so many value plays where we're going to be able to play a couple spends? Then yeah, I'll take a look, but I'm not going to force in any of the studs, I don't think, on the slate right now as it stands. Now that could change, like I said, if we get even more overwhelming value.
DC, how about you? What about these Nets? Is it a LaMarcus Aldridge night? Like, he is a guy I looked at that. Yeah, center. He is grading out not terrible. It's like there are better options. If you're building one lineup, probably not. But in MME, he is going to go under own. He's not projecting too bad. But I mean, KD, Harden, there are other guys too, like raw points plays that you can mix and match throughout your lineup. So any of these guys make any sense on this slate.
I wasn't really looking at Aldridge, but yeah, impressive game log over those last 5 games. I'd kind of written him off a little bit.
They need his size too, right, DC? Like they need him as a big here, technically. So
I just don't trust the minutes, but I mean, clearly he's got a little bit of upside. He can get scoring. I mean, Blake Griffin is even dustier than Aldridge. I think quite a bit dustier than Aldridge. This feels to me like a Kevin Durant game. Just, I don't know, in Brooklyn, Knicks coming to town. I don't really see anyone on the Knicks that's going to slow down Durant, kind of 1v1 in isolation. So this feels like a game where maybe he puts up 35 real points and, kind of shows the Knicks what's up as the best player on the court. So I do like him a little bit from that perspective, but I don't really want to lock in that 11-1 player, with 3 later games that start 2.5 hours. Like, we don't know how the news is going to break with the Lakers. Could be other news that we're not anticipating. Portland has a bunch of really good players, I think. So I have no problem with Durant. He would be the guy I would play as a star from this game, but I think I prefer to maybe use that forward spot on a LeBron or an Anthony Davis and save more flexibility, because a lot of my plays are going to be coming from the later games, specifically with the Blazers. So most likely I think the move is to keep it open, but Durant would be the guy I would play here. And then just briefly, I mean, if the New York Knicks bigs are out, if we get specifically Randall starting at the 5, then I think the Knicks side gets really interesting, right? If they're going to kind of play small ball and really get up and down the court, like the Burks, Fournier, Randall, like I think a trio there quickly off the bench could potentially really go off. So kind of just so much depends on that Knicks news in this game.
That Knicks news definitely matters. We got one question in the chat, Hoop, but no Patty Mills. Like I think once we hit Patty Mills, yes, it is a 5-game slate, and sometimes you'll get fringe options, but wrong slate for Patty Mills, Hoop. Am I not wrong?
Yeah, I mean, again, with the Lillard being out news, like it takes those plays away. And I don't think Patty Mills was a great play before, but now with Lillard being out, like if you're going to be in this range looking for value, you just you're forced to go to the Blazers. You have to go to the Blazers guys over guys like Patty Mills. 9 times out of 10, like these Blazers guys are going to crush Mills in this situation. Like you just can't play value plays, like fringe value plays, when we have like these elite guys sitting on the Blazers.
And not just that, like we have games later on where like news can happen that we don't expect. There's also like LeBron, he's questionable. And like you wouldn't be shocked if out of nowhere just someone sat, like let's say that a Sadiq Bey was out. Well, that could change the situation over there, or a Killian Hayes. Like there's just news that could pop up. And I don't think there's like those guys that we talked about on those net side are like must plays to jam into your lineups. Could they get there? Could they be on the winner? Sure. But I'm definitely not going out of my way to roster them. I do think if they pop in there, some of my stuff, sure, I'll have some exposure, but there is some value in backloading it a little bit for some of these later games where we got a nice 10 o'clock game and we got a rematch of the triple overtime game. That was good to me. I'm not cheering on for triple overtime again, but if it happens, cool. We got LeBron James questionable for this game, where if you want to spend up, do you want to spend on KD and Harden, or do you want to spend on Russell Westbrook against the Kings or Anthony Davis against the Kings without possibly LeBron James? I'll lean on playing one of those guys. Also, we look at the Kings side, and man, they've changed some stuff up. You got De'Aaron Fox, who looks like a good play on paper, especially in a matchup against the Lakers. But whenever they run Metu out there, man, they have not, like, it just has not gelled well together. His fantasy points have been down. I just think De'Aaron Fox is a little overpriced on DK FanDuel. He seems decent at 7.6. Halliburton certainly in play. If Buddy Hield starts, I'd have some interest. Maurice Harkless will be 3K starting, but I don't know if I really want to go there. And then Rashawn Holmes makes sense at 6.2, but the matchup is a disaster, and that has me some fear. So it's a game that I kind of want to go to, but I also need the news, and I don't know how to approach it unless I have those starting lineups. So DC, break it down for me. Lakers and Kings, how are you handling it?
Yeah, Lakers, who you're going to play there is obviously all dependent on how that news breaks. Looks like Anthony Davis is going to play. Did they change it? Yeah, he's upgraded to probable, so you can assume he's in. Listen, if LeBron sits, I mean, what Russell Westbrook, I think, becomes one of the best plays on the slate, as does Anthony Davis. And, if it sounds like all three of our opinions, if you're smart and kind of playing some of that Portland value, you might have some flexibility to play whoever pops in this game. And maybe that's no one. And, you can go to Golden State, Phoenix, or more Portland guys if you want. But yeah, just depending on the LeBron news, I think, even if he plays Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron, all three of them, I think are fine plays. But obviously, Davis, Westbrook get a big bump if LeBron is out. King side, I know the triple overtime game very, very good to the Run Pure community. So happy for that, but I'm not convinced that these guys are going to be going off every game now. I mean, they didn't in the first game with the new coach, and they didn't in the third game. And needed, just look at some of these guys that played 53 minutes in the triple overtime game. So good matchup against the Lakers, who are really, really bad defensively. But I don't, unless news breaks that I don't expect, I don't really anticipate playing many Kings at all. I mean, I still think De'Aaron Fox 8,400 is way overpriced. I would way rather have Fred VanVleet. I don't even think that's for me particularly close. So not many Kings over here.
All right, Hoop, I'll go over to you. But before we do that, we got Mad Sinner in the chat. He says the pronunciations of some of these last names is an unmitigated disaster. Now, Hoop, why don't you tell him that on the Friday show, our boy JT Hayes is here, so he needs to tune in on Fridays because JT knows all the pronunciations of the names. He knows all the parents here at Run Pure Sports. He knows all the players of the NBA. So we don't call Mr. Damian Lillard. We don't call him that. We call him Mr. Damian Lillard. So give him the breakdown of why we call these guys these different names.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't bring on JT Hayes for his DFS or sports betting takes. We brought on JT Hayes because of his inside track with a lot of the parents and family members of professional athletes, and he knows the true pronunciations. Like the next game that we're going to get to, Portland Trailblazers, this is how it all started. He knows Lillard's parents, and he came to us and basically said, you guys are mispronouncing his name, and the family is very disrespected. So if you could please pronounce it properly, it's Lillard. So we know how to pronounce these names. It's proven fact. So apologize if there's any confusion, but we've committed resources to making sure the pronunciations are correct.
This is a professional operation. We're not cutting any corners. We need to learn the proper pronunciations. And so anything that you're thinking we have said wrong, in fact, we have said it right because we practice, we know, and so just follow along with us.
Yeah, it's meant to. It's not me to, right? It's said how it's said. So Hoop, break this game down though. What are you doing here? Because it's one that we should like, but it's hard to know what to like without some of the news here.
Yeah, predicated on the news. I mean, whether or not LeBron plays, I'm sure he does play, and then it's going to be very difficult to play any of these guys. But if he is out, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook in phenomenal spots, and we've seen them go off together. I would much rather play these guys over the Nets guys if LeBron James is out. So you got to wait and see this 10 p.m. Eastern game, leave yourself some flexibility. The King side's just, I don't know, it's just a disappointment. It seems I don't know, they seemed like they had such a promising roster last season. Luke Walton obviously is a disaster. I had some hope for them after they got rid of Walton, but it just doesn't happen with them. I don't know. I don't know. I have no read on it. I agree. I look at De'Aaron Fox, I want to play him, but he doesn't do anything anymore. I mean, it's a triple overtime game for him to have his first 50 piece in a while. Anyone could get 50 fantasy points in a triple overtime game. Just doesn't happen with any of these guys. I don't know. I'm fine just taking the wait and see approach. I don't know. Just not a very appealing game for me. If LeBron's out, I like the studs for the Lakers and Horton Tucker as well. I think he's fine if LeBron's out, but if LeBron's in, I don't think I'm really playing anyone in this game.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one to monitor and watch. And we got Willie Hoops, who's on that burner account saying, what a waste of time these guys chatting about names. Imagine being on a burner account. It's a nice Tuesday, lovely day, and you're on a burner account. I mean, DC, I know you love the troll and stuff, but I feel like going on multiple YouTube burner accounts is a little too low for you, even though you love the troll.
You've offended him. He's out of here. He said he's leaving. He's had enough. Sorry, we're going to miss you, man.
No burner accounts here. You want the DC take? It's coming from the DC official account. So yeah, enough with the burner accounts. That's just weak. I mean, Kevin Durant, famous for it, but no, we don't roll that way at RPS.
Yeah, be a man, show your face. You're gonna make fun of us, just stay on the real account. But we're having fun here, guys. Again, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Hoop, we're hitting a nice number. We got 600 watching. Having a good time here, trying to bring the winners, help everyone out. What's the number we got to get to here and get those likes up so we can give out those plays?
Oh, yeah, I got nice viewership today. I mean, it's got to be 300. So we got some work to do, but we'll get there. We got some time. So it'll be 120 more, 300. Get to the plays of the day. Get to the winner circle with the RPS crew.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's get the winners up there. I want to be able to give out my play of the day to the people. I don't want to just hold it for the Discord chat. And good point by Anthony in chat. Ignore the haters, man. Going, you know what the problem is, Hoop? The shades aren't on where I can block them out, right? So we'll put the shades on, we'll block the haters, and we'll get this show moving along and cook up those winners because these are two really big games on the slate to talk about. I think that this next one we're going to talk about is a big one for cash games and tournaments. That can be a big difference maker. And the next game, I think there's a lot of contrarian plays within that game that people are just not going to be on. So let's block out the noise. Let's move on to the next one. We'll talk Pistons. We'll talk Blazers. 211.5 total. And DC, I'm going to go right to you. We got to talk about this game because it's not the Pistons side we like. It's Mr. Damian Lillard. He is out, and we got Nurkic, 6.4K, way too cheap. We got JT's boy, Tony Snell, in there in the lineup, but I don't think we're rostering him too much tonight. We got to like Anthony Simons. We got to like McCollum. And even some of these bench guys, like a Larry Nance, could easily see a little bit more work because the Pistons, they like to play a little bigger. I wouldn't be shocked if Covington slid over to the 3 at times and they brought in Larry Nance. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here on the Blazers side of the ball. Talk to me about how you're handling it.
Yeah, you have to love this game. I mean, the Blazers play a pretty tight rotation anyway. Last game they played 9 guys. That included 38 minutes from Lillard, 25 minutes from Powell, who got hurt in the game, and then 20 minutes from Nasir Little. These guys are all, you're talking, if you just add up their average minutes for the season, what are we talking, 85, something like that, minutes off the board, and productive, important minutes as well. And so the players that are left for the Blazers, they have to carry the load. To me, Anthony Simons is you just play the man. 4K. I mean, this guy could easily put up, I would expect 30 plus fantasy points a year, frankly, and then could easily put up 40. He's a good offensive player. He can step right in that role. We've seen it before. CJ McCollum. I mean, listen, I don't know how much more you need to say. He's going to have just a giant role in this game. I think you'll see Nurkic, he's been kind of on the back burner. That's the one that scares me a little bit because he's sort of just been splitting the minutes at the 5 with Larry Nance. But curious to get your guys' take on this. But I think in this game, those guys are going to have to play together a bunch. So Nance is cheap. I think Nurkic is a good play. One guy I'm a little hesitant about is Robert Covington, who has not been playing well. Not the player he once was. Clearly was ejected in the last game because he was playing so poorly that threw his mask at a referee. So he makes me a little bit nervous. Like, you can run the numbers. I did it. You take Lillard off the court, you see how these guys perform. You take Lillard and Powell off the court, you see how they perform. You take, Little along with Powell and Lillard off the court. And whatever I ran, Covington is just like doing nothing. His usage rate just always stays right around like 13%, whatever it is. So I'm interested to hear your take on him. And then the final thing is it's a home matchup against the goddamn Pistons, right? So they're going to win the game. They're going to play well. They're going to see their minutes. And I'm just having a hard time seeing how multiple Blazers don't end up getting there in the end.
All right, Hoop, let's go over to you. I mean, lots of Blazers to like and plug into your lineups. What are you doing here? Because I think that we just can't ignore these guys. I mean, these Blazers are really, really good options. And then you're the Detroit guy. So any Pistons run backs you want to throw into the lineups here on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, the run back situation is where it gets tough because it's just it's a tough team. I mean, Cade Cunningham's now 7.7K, and yeah, he does have 50 fantasy point upside, but man, it's tough to click that name at 7.7. I just really don't see myself playing many Pistons. I mean, maybe Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's actually been playing pretty well. I think you could potentially play him, but I mean, the exciting side is clearly the Trailblazers. You want at least a couple, 2 to 3 of these guys, I think, in every lineup you build. Anthony Simons is a phenomenal play. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen him in this role before. He's been in this role many of times, and he crushes almost every single time. And he's been playing really well lately. I mean, back-to-back, 37 fantasy points and 31 fantasy points. Now no Damian Lillard. Like, man, like, gotta look to him. Just a phenomenal play. CJ McCollum.
About as can't miss as a value play gets, right? Simons, I mean, anything can happen, but
yeah, it's just a slam dunk situation. CJ McCollum's obviously a phenomenal play here. Can go off in this spot. He's a great season as is. Another guard I think you can play if MMEing Dennis Smith Jr. He's going to have to get some minutes. He's 3K. Definitely don't play Tony Snell. Covington, yeah, I agree. Somewhat concerning. Like, it's just not the same guy. And with Lillard out, I don't know if it's like a big boost to him. He needs someone to get him the ball in the right spot. And I mean, it's not happening with this team. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think he's a fine play. I'll probably have him on my teams. Don't get me wrong, but like, he's the one I'm a little nervous about. I agree with DC. Nurkic, yeah, they're going to have to play Nurkic. Like, they're going to need his offense. So I think he is a strong play. Him and Nance should be out there together. Nance is another really good play. So, I mean, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, 6 plays here on the Trailblazer side. If you're MMEing, get exposure to all of them at a high rate. I mean, these are the situations that you play DFS for, just to load up and lock in these good plays, and got a lot of them. So fire away here.
A lot of great plays to like in this game. DC, anything on the Pistons you want to kind of discuss and go to? Because, I mean, Jeremy Grant has been playing a lot better. You can make arguments for him, but it seems like if you do play some of these Pistons, maybe it's like a Sadiq Bey on a FanDuel where he can be cheaper at times. Maybe it's Jeremy Grant and like you get a splash of him, not too much. And then guard seems too deep to go like a Cade Cunningham. Like, why would I go Cade Cunningham when I can go CJ McCollum? Yeah. I can go Devin Booker. I can go so many other guys. Great value plays. It just seems like the wrong spot to play Cade Cunningham.
I agree. There'll be plenty of spots, I think, throughout the year to play Cade Cunningham. When Hayes is out, I think that's nice for him. If Sadiq Bey or Jeremy Grant miss time, if his price is lower, right, 7,700 is you're paying full freight there. So good matchup, right? I mean, a depleted Blazers team that's not good defensively in the backcourt anyway. I think the upside is there, but it's just like Coop said, it's hard to click his name tonight. It really is.
Yeah, definitely hard to click his name for sure. Not so I'm going to load up in my lineups. Again, news is going to be super important. It's going to matter a ton. Let's move on over to the next game. Before we do that, again, guys, like, subscribe. Last game helps out a ton. And, got 600 watching, 250. And once we get to 300, we'll be giving out those plays of the day at the end of the show, as long as we get there. And this is the crew that we run a tight ship, Hoop. So, we're willing to kind of pull the plug if we have to.
Yeah, if we don't get there, I mean, we'll use your ship analogy. I mean, we'll sink this boat and take the play straight to Discord if we don't get to 300. And someone in the chat was calling for 420. So I mean, it's subject to change. We said 300. Get to 300, or we're just shutting this thing down. The boat's going underwater. No mojo here, and take it all to Discord.
Yeah, I got faith they can get it there, right? I don't see an iceberg ahead. I think we're okay, DC. The people will push it home for us.
I think so.
For our boy Willie Hoops in the chat, right?
Exactly, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about this last game. We got the Warriors and the Suns. The Suns, they are home favorites here. I like the Suns to win. I think the Warriors they've been playing great this year. I believe they're 17-2. The Suns, though, I think it's a good spot for them to take a W. I think the Warriors, they are kind of getting a little more thin where some of these bench guys are going to have to go in there. And Andrew Wiggins is questionable, and there's no Iguodala, which Iguodala would be a factor in these kind of games. He's a factor in that Nets game a little bit. He is someone that they need. And not having Wiggins defensively, it's just going to cause another guy to have to slide in that lineup that I don't know if they're going to be ready for. I think they're just getting a little too thin, and I think the Suns come away with the win here, but I think it could be a close game. Hoop, let's go over to you. These are not guys that are just like extreme values, but I think there's a lot of tournament winning players in this game. I think Chris Paul at 8K on FanDuel and DraftKings, way too cheap. 8.6 for Booker on DK, 7.9 for Booker on FanDuel. They just feel like great prices on those two guys and the upside they have. We talked about liking some centers on this slate. Well, how do you sleep on the DeAndre Ayton at 7.1? Jay Crowder, who's someone that will play a lot more minutes in these bigger games. And at 3.9, if he's hitting his threes, he's going to be on the winning lineup at like 35 to 40 fantasy points. And Mikal Bridges is another guy. He fits these small ballish lineups really well. So there's a lot to like on the Suns side in tournaments that I want to mix and match. And if you got the raw points, Steph Curry, he's a great play as always.
Yeah, I think for tournaments, this game makes a lot of sense because it's a game where both teams are going to want to get the win. I mean, this is a premier game, two of the premier teams in the league. Warriors off to that hot start. So you start looking at it. I don't think anyone jumps off the page as like a great value place. I don't think ownership is going to be all that crazy in this game. And it's a great actual basketball game that two teams want to win. So in tournaments, I'd be looking to get overweight on Steph. I'd be looking to get overweight on Paul, Booker. I don't think it's going to take much to get overweight on these guys. So I definitely want them in my player pool. Kind of want, both sides of it. If I'm going to play Steph, I want some Suns guys. If I'm going to play Paul and Booker, I want some Warriors guys. It's just really hard though on the Warriors side to trust many guys like outside of Steph. I know Andrew Wiggins is listed. He was added to their injury report listed as questionable. Like if he's out, it could open up some opportunity for like Otto Porter. So this is a good spot to, if you have some flexibility in your lineups, you can kind of take advantage of it. On the Suns side, Chris Paul at 8K, I think is a fine play. Booker is better on FanDuel. Ayton, I think, is a fine DK play, but really, I don't think this game is going to garner all that much ownership. And like I said, it's a game where I think these guys all play like max minutes in terms of, I think they all go over their average amount of minutes that they've been playing this season in an attempt to get a win. So I think it's a great game for tournaments. I don't think anyone's going to have a ton of ownership here.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great game to go to. DC, I'll go over to you. Of course, you got to watch this game tonight. It's probably one of the best games to watch. I'm excited for it. Break it down for me. How are you handling these guys in DFS?
Yeah, the Suns still in their winning streak, right? 14 straight wins, I believe, for the Suns right now. At home, hosting the Warriors, right? Who look like probably the top threat in the West. I don't know. You kind of piece all those little pieces of the puzzle together, and CP3, I mean, we know kind of what he does in the playoff type atmosphere, right? He gets ramped up to 36 to 40 minutes. He takes over games. He becomes the point god, right? Like this team has won 14 straight games led by CP3. Like he's not slowing down at all. He's going strong. And sometimes the minutes aren't there because, the games aren't big, but this is the biggest regular season game of the year, I think, so far, just of the whole NBA season. And the Suns are going for 15 straight against the Warriors. So to me, this looks like a CP3 game. Kind of been talking myself into him a little bit throughout the day. More so just the narrative, right? Not looking so much at the numbers, just saying CP3 is 8K. I think the Suns are going to play really well. I think this game's going to be close to the very end, and CP3 is going to be out there for a huge majority of it. So to me, if you want to pivot off a very, very chalky CJ McCollum, and I have certainly no problem with playing both, but CP3 is a pivot there. 8K for CP3, 7,900 for McCollum. Not many people are going to play CP3, and if he, McCollum could put up 40, right? Have a good game, and CP3 could easily put up 47 or 52 or something, and then you got a big advantage. So I think that's an interesting pivot for tournaments. Like Hoop said, you won't really find much ownership, I don't think, on this game at all.
Yeah, I like the Booker pivot a lot too. I think he's another one. You can make an argument for both guys. I think
play both together if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that would get you a little different. And the one reason I like doing that too is I've talked about it a lot, and Hoop, I'll go back to you about this. The algorithm is just built where like these 8K guys just don't get priced up enough, and they're all cheap, 7K, 9K. And like, then you get the not egregious prices, but really expensive prices on a guy like Steph Curry. And I love him. I think he's a great player. He's fun to watch. There's no one that I enjoy more watching when he's on fire, right? That's the guy that is great, but it's hard for me to root him on because he's 11.7K or 11.4. And like those price tags he gets every single like night, they're just so expensive now where the raw points of paying for him, I don't think it's the right call to go to him on this slate, Hoop. Am I crazy to think that?
No, I don't think it's not. I mean, it's just the way, I think part of that is like scoring overall in the NBA is down a little bit. So that also is taking away from some of his superstars. Now, Steph is having a great season, but it really brings these middling builds more into play. Guys like Chris Paul and Booker, their prices don't really change all that much. Steph Curry, they'll fluctuate these guys between like 10 and like 11.5. So I don't know. I'm with you. Like I think it is hard to get all the way up there, even when we do have good value plays. Like it's difficult.
It's just because even if Curry smashes, he's priced so high that sometimes the middle build will beat that anyway, right? Even if he has his 65 ceiling game, he's not guaranteed. The middle build can still beat it, and if he doesn't, then you're totally screwed, right? Because you paid 11.4 for a guy that if he gives you like 35 or 40, that's a deep hole to dig out of. So it's hard to play him, but man, ceiling I think is always intact, right? For Steph Curry each and every night.
Yeah, no, I agree. The ceiling is always there for him. DC, talk about Ayton a little bit, or we pronounce him here, DeAndre Ayton. What do you do with Mr. Ayton here on this slate? I think at 7-1, he's in play, but we have seen at times, yes, some big men can absolutely destroy the Warriors, but then there's also times where some big men, they really struggle because they get ran off the court and you see more small ball lineups. And the Suns embrace some small ball lineups at times. They're okay with going with a Cam Johnson at the 5 or a Jay Crowder at the 5. It depends how the game goes and what the coaches want to do. So what do you think of him here in this spot?
I think if I was playing, 150 lineups or whatever, I would certainly have some exposure here. But to me, I much prefer Precious Achua at 4,400 to Ayton, just in the price difference. And then Nurkic, I would take Nurkic straight up over Ayton tonight. He's $700 cheaper. So I can't really end up getting there on any main lineups like that. But yeah, I think he's certainly capable of big game here. And I don't mind pairing him with CP3. He's kind of dependent on, those CP3 lobs, get those two getting the pick and roll going. So I think that's a decent pairing for tournaments, but not getting, anywhere close to my main lineups.
All right, Hoop, tell me a little bit about Ayton. What would you do with him at the center spot? Because I do think there's a ceiling there, but I understand that there could be some issues with him in the spot.
Yeah, you kind of want to go to Ayton when there's another opposing big that will, require him to be out on the court, and you just don't really have that with this Warriors team. Not the greatest spot for him. But if the Suns can get a lead and choose to impose their will and play their style over the Warriors style, I think he could have a good game. Fine tournament option. Again, I just don't think there's much ownership at all really in this game, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I'm fine tournament play, I guess, overall.
All right. And Hoop, the people, they absolutely crushed it. They got up to 310 likes. So we will go to the plays of the day. But before we do that, tell the people a little bit about all the stuff we got at Run Pure Sports. Maybe there's a new person in here that knows nothing about us and what we do, and they're just kind of watching the show. So tell them a little bit about everything we got here.
Yeah, at Run Pure Sports, our business model, one price for everything on the website, basically. A lot of other sites go ahead and charge you when new sports start. We have one price for absolutely everything. DraftKings has contests, or DraftKings adds a sport. We have someone covering it: soccer, NASCAR, MMA, obviously all the big ones, NHL, MLB, NBA, NFL, all the Showdown slates. We have content for a playbook and some core plays. And right now, if you join RPS Heater 25, gets you 25% off your first payment. You can try it. So yeah, come join the movement, as we like to say.
And we got Gary here saying, thanks RPS for these free shows and good luck tonight. Like, that makes me think he's not in the Discord chat grinding out with us. In DC, there's a lot of value being in the Discord chat, right? Like when the news breaks, right? You're in the chat, you can ask the coordinators questions and say, hey, I need help with this question. What's the situation going to change to? So tell the people about the Discord chat, because obviously it's a great spot to be at, especially if you're not a subscriber, you got to get in there.
Yeah, absolutely. NBA Discord chat always popping, basically around the clock, people talking hoops all day long. And when you get news, unexpected news, maybe you weren't anticipating it, and you got quick questions, there's always coordinators or other, very knowledgeable members in there talking hoops and ready to, help you make the best decisions you can. We got a lot of people that kind of just approach it differently. Maybe they follow one person's cores, ride the ups and downs with them. Maybe they try to mix and match people's cores with the cash chart, along with, taking plays or takes from shows, whether that's here or on the Up to Lock show. So a lot of different ways to do it. And, obviously with all the winners, people are figuring out the best way for them and getting to the top of those leaderboards. You love to see it most nights in NBA.
Yeah. And if you're Willie Hoops and you're just watching the show and you hate us, like, you can easily be in the Discord and be like, hey, Kevin Durant or James Harden. And when I say KD, you go Harden. There's tons of way to utilize it. So, just sign up now. RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off. Just don't say like, hey, okay, now I'm going the other way. Just take the other side. Don't say to me, hey, like I'm taking the other side. Then that hurts the feelings and it's very hurtful.
Yeah.
So
just keep it to yourself. It's all good.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are asking about the big announcement. I oversold it in terms of the timing, but it's I'm fairly confident to say early next week. Early next week. That's what you can hold me to that. All right. If it's not by mid next week, if it's not by next Wednesday, we're giving away multiple here. Okay, this is what we'll do. If we don't have this announcement by next Wednesday, so you guys can hold me to something, we will give away multiple tickets to the big contest on DraftKings that night. So next Wednesday. Okay.
Man, I mean, that's a big thing to do there, Hoop. And, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about that gift. It's been 84 years. I mean, I'm waiting for Hoop to make this announcement, but it'll be coming at some point here. Hoop is promising. So speaking of big contests, Hoop, you firing in that $555 Millie Maker on Sunday? That's NFL. There's a really tasty prize pool for a Millie Maker on Sunday. So you excited to kind of get in on that?
I'm gonna put some in there, but I gotta stay in my lane with things. Like I will admit, like my strengths and weaknesses in DFS, like full MME, like for NFL full slates, is not my strongest suit. Like I'll MME for a lot of these sports, but I will put some in there, but I'm not going to go the full distance because I'm just not great at full MME. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still, dabbling my feet in there a little bit, dipping the toes, but I'm not, it's not my strongest sort of contest.
Maxing out the 555. And that's a nice chunk of change there that you're putting on the line if you're going with the MME.
I will put some in there. I'll go after it, but not super hard.
And Sean's asking, is there a free trial period for a week or two? Sean, you can always sign up for a week, and then, if you don't like it, you can cancel. But I'll tell you this, DM me, and if you have any questions, I'll answer them all. So at Travis,
the trial period, it's like you can try it for a week for like $15. All right, like I'm not saying everyone has $15 to spare, but like if you use that promo code and you sign up for a weekly package, I think it's like 15 or 16, maybe $17. So. Yeah, you can try it that way.
Yeah, and if you know someone else who's a subscriber, just like DM them and be like, hey, like, why should I sign up? You know what I mean? Like, ask them, ask me again at Travis Mangone if you DM me there. I said I'd get back to the one guy. I'm going to get back to him tonight. The Tuesdays I got 3 shows, we got a lot going on, but we're trying to deliver the winners and make the best we can. We're giving you the cash chart. We're giving it all to you over here at Run Pure. Hoop, we'll go to you first because we need the rich parents play of the day because listen, in order to join that 555 and max enter, you got to have some rich parents. So what do we got here, Hoop? Who is your play of the day?
Oh, so we just got Gary Trent out, by the way, and McKay Luke is starting. So
that's massive news.
Pretty big news. I'm gonna go to the Knicks. I think we're gonna get at least a couple of those guys out. I think the news hasn't broke or anything yet, but I think the Knicks are gonna end up being pretty solid value. I'm gonna go Evan Fournier. He's not listed on this injury report. There's 5 guys that are listed with some good coach speak behind him, and when they talked about Kemba out of the rotation, so. Evan Fournier is going to be the rich parents play of the day, and obviously a much better play if we get some of these guys out, but as is, I think he's a solid play.
And we got Adam in the chat. He goes, wait, Trent is out. Well, if you're in the Discord chat, Adam, you would know. I mean, you get hit with the you get the update. So, that's the update on that. Trent just got ruled out very, very recently, but hey, Discord chat is on it really fast as always. DC, let's head over to you. Give me the Mom's Basement play of the day. Who do we have on this slate?
Yeah, final kind of just slate overall thought. There's going to be a lot of good plays tonight, right? You're kind of going to be narrowing it down again between guys that you really want to play. So, make sure you feel pretty good about your lineups because especially with this Knicks news, I have a feeling it's going to break the way we kind of want, and a lot of those Knicks guys are going to come and play. But I'm going to, kind of talk to myself onto CP3. I think he's going to be very, very low owned. Marquee game, big game for the Suns, going for their 15th straight win at home against the Warriors. And CP3 shows up for these games, man. He has giant playoff series all the time. And I think he'll get his 36 to maybe 40 minutes here. I think they'll push him. So you look at kind of the game log and, you see the low minutes, but I don't think so in this game. I think if this game's close against the Warriors, he's going to be out there for most of it. So CP3, 8K. I think you'll get him below 10% as well. So it could be a fun contrarian play to hammer home a late night hammer there.
And Adam says, chill, man, going, I'm in the Discord. So I was wrong. So my apologies, Adam.
Chill.
I didn't know. I mean, it was also, as they say, when you're a host, it was a good seamless segue to, tout up the Discord,
It's hard to chill when you got those shades on, man. Those things are serious.
Very true.
That's very true. And we're going to dive in and I'm going to my play of the day in DC. We're kind of in a similar spot. I'm on the Devin Booker train. Now, that doesn't mean you can't play both, because I think you could play both. Like, I think a lot of times in DFS, we see a lot of blowouts, and you can just see both these guys absolutely smash and be really good plays. Because I talked about, I like this 8K range. I like the 7K range. And Devin Booker is going to be my play of the day at 7-9 on FanDuel, 8-6 on DK. I think he's a really strong option at some low ownership. If you're looking to get a nice little contrarian pivot of a guy that can get you 40 plus fantasy points, Devin Booker, he's going to have one of those Keeters on his name when you pull up the DraftKings app late in the night. Book it before you go to bed, Hoop. There's going to be a nice little heat sign, flame emoji next to Devin Booker's name. But that'll wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us. We got JSU. We got Big T. They'll be coming up next at 6:30 because we have a 7:30 lock time tonight. So don't jump in the Discord chat and wonder where the show is. We got 40 minutes until the next one. So stay tuned. Our producer Simon will probably grab a nice bite to eat real quick, go downstairs, eat some food, and then head on over and watch the show with Big T and JSU leading up to lock, and then get in that Discord chat so we can notify you and help you out to bring you the winners. But that'll wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining. For me, Mangone, DC, and Hoop, we will see you guys later.